back to when it was just me starting the brand. I did my website myself, I did the branding myself, and I was asked, do you need a couple days? Do you need to hear back from investors? And I was just like, no, it's just me. It is scary. And I sit at night and I think, what if this doesn't work out? What is going to happen? All I kept thinking was, I don't need anyone else to help me. I'm going to speak directly to these people. I'm going to sell them this brand. The amount young people are spending on these websites like PrettyLittleThing, Boohoo, could be better spent elsewhere. And when you're putting yourself up to brands that have been running for a long time, how am I competitive? What is different about my brand? No one's got me, Aimee Smale, in their brand. Well, you are your biggest advantage. No one is you. If you was to ask me what I enjoy most about my job, it is being that face of brand to the community.
Hear the stories, learn the proven methods, and accelerate your growth and future through entrepreneurship. Welcome to the Foundr podcast with Nathan Chan.
First of all, Aimee, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me today. So let's talk about the Odd Muse. You started that brand by selling $10 pound logos during the pandemic. So it's not that long ago, and it is a massive brand now. I see you guys everywhere. So take us back to the early days. What inspired you to start a fashion brand, and what kept you motivated to make it a full-time business?
I think for me, I was working at ASOS at the time. And for me, I just graduated university. I had gone into like my first ever role. And I was on women's wear premium department. So funnily enough, we was working with a lot of Australian brands, and that mid-luxury price point was not a thing in the UK. All we had at that time was fast fashion. So here in the UK, we are very dominated by PrettyLittleThing, Boohoo, especially towards a younger consumer. Or we have your high luxury price points that are completely unattainable. And I guess I graduated from uni kind of like, I'm not a PrettyLittleThing girl. I don't want to buy fast fashion, but I literally have no other option. And how fast fashion was in the UK, all I kept thinking was, the amount young people are spending on these websites could be better spent elsewhere. It can't be collected and put into luxury because it is unattainable, but we are missing that mid-luxury price point. And I kind of started Odd Muse as a project on my commute to ASOS. So I had come up with this mid-luxury brand. The idea was investment fashion. My target market was young women like me. I believe I was like 22 at the time, who wanted to implement their spend into one good piece. I understood that to get a woman that's very young, 22 years old, to spend over £100 on something, it does need to be something that she can wear over and over again. And obviously in the pandemic, I was never going to release a brand to sell you an outfit for the weekend. It was going to be the first thing that you can wear when you get out, and you're still going to love it. So I kind of started to really believe I was onto something, but again, it was just a hobby. However, it really took being home and being in lockdown and just like not being that satisfied in my job anymore to push me to do it. So I basically started creating £10 logos for local businesses. At the time in the UK, the pandemic was a really funny time. Everyone was starting baking businesses and becoming like, but everyone was creating like a new job for themselves and a new business. There was lots of small businesses around me, and for me, I was just like, I've taught myself Adobe Illustrator. I'm going to make every small business a logo for £10. And that literally skyrocketed. I remember I would log on at ASOS at like 9 a.m, but I'd done like 4 hours creating logos before work. And in the evening, I would work all evening creating logos. So it is to date the most random part of my story. But one thing ASOS taught me is, if I'm going to launch a business, if I'm going to launch an e-commerce business, I need capital. It's not going to just happen. I need stock available, and I need capital for that, and I need to risk a good amount of capital that I just wasn't getting from, my first ever job at university. It's never going to be, your first grad job is never going to be a high paid job. So yeah, I kind of got to a point where I had the capital, I had the idea, and I think when you're young and you don't have many responsibilities, such as a house to pay for, children, I think that is the best time to try something, because in my head I diminished all risk. I was just like, I'll get another job if this doesn't work out. I'm happy to go back to another job and just not live with the fact that, what if? And I think more younger people should see less risk in just quitting their job and trying something, because there's so many other companies and there's so many other jobs that you can get. So yeah, it's just kind of the stars all aligned, and I was like, I had a very sort of just a moment where I was like, I'm just going to try this. I really, really believed in Odd Muse at that point. And I do think that's one of the reasons why we saw a lot of success quite quickly, because I sat with the idea for maybe like 2 years. So by the time it went to market, I would say it was like a very polished, well executed brand. And people were surprised that, a 22-year-old just quitting a job at ASOS had, come out with this brand, and we had a mission, we had good branding, we had a great website, we had good product. And I think people were just captivated from the very beginning.
So you talked about capital. Would you be able to share how much did you save up to launch, and your ultimate Muse blazer? That was what you launched with, right?
Yeah, so I actually, and this is another interesting part of my story. So I actually launched Odd Muse with a 6-piece collection, but the blazer was what really stuck. And the blazer was actually the only thing that sold. And that really taught me throughout the whole brand that I only really need one product to really change the game for this brand. And I've experienced that so many times in my journey. So we had, we started to slow at one point in 2022. It just got to a point where everyone had a blazer. And I released this pearl dress, and it was everything she loved about the blazer. It was feminine. It had a good shape to it. It was so Odd Muse, if Odd Muse did a dress. And I remember in that quarter alone, we grossed like 1.5 million just off that dress, and we became a dress brand. And that was, again, one product. So I actually launched Odd Muse with 6 pieces. The blazer sold very, very well. And in total, the capital invested was £12,000. And that was mainly just on stock. I did my website myself. I did the branding myself. I did all the socials myself. I really saved in every area possible to be able to buy that stock. So yeah, it was £12,000 I put in. And I kind of, even to this day, like, that is quite a lot for a young person to risk. But I think where I was working in a buying team at ASOS, I was so exposed to numbers, and I was so exposed to the reality that if you do want to build a big business, it does take that sacrifice, and that sacrifice is putting capital in there and risking it and not really knowing what's going to happen. All I knew was that I very much believed in this blazer. I remember the 6-piece collection, my minimum quantity order with the factories was 50 pieces each style. And with the blazer, I ordered 100. I doubled that order because I was like, there's something about this blazer that I think people are really, really going to love. And that's exactly what happened. We ended up selling out, going into a huge pre-order, and it just really, really paved the way for literally the last 4 years.
Yeah, it's crazy. So I want to talk about Lorna Luxe, but before I do, talk me through like the manufacturing and the creation process. So you said you ordered, double the MOQ for the blazer, but you had 5 other pieces, so a collection. How did you go about finding your supplier, choosing, the materials, all these different things? Because this gets people caught up quite a lot.
Yeah, 100%. And honestly, I would have started my brand a lot sooner if I had more visibility on literally the manufacturing and the supplier side. It is the hardest. It is the hardest. It is the hardest thing to find the information about once you get connected with someone and start having conversations. Like I always say, my supplier at the very beginning was almost my mentor. I told myself that I just needed to ask the questions and I just needed to speak to someone and have silly questions about fabrics and components like zippers and buttons. And my sketches were very sort of like amateur at the time. Um, but I learned very quickly that I wanted to manufacture in China because of just where I was working. I was working on the premium women's wear department. It was with a lot of mid-luxury Australian brands that I wanted to associate myself with. And a lot of my job was importing that stock into the UK for ASOS. So I had full visibility on them all being from China and exactly where they are in China, because I think made in China is a complete minefield. China is the biggest country for manufacturing, and there are all levels of manufacturing happening in China. So brands like Shein create in China, but also luxury brands create in China. So it's very important that you know where to go in China. So I had full visibility on that, and I really credit ASOS for just really showing me the sort of like back end of where all these products are coming from. Um, so from that, I just started to Google manufacturers in China, and I had honestly, I had about 50 conversations with 50 different suppliers. A lot of it was a simple, just like vibe check, and the other part of it was, what are your minimum quantity orders? If anyone come back to me and said, a lot of the time when it's like a fast fashion brand, a fast fashion manufacturer, they'll come back and say their minimums are 1,000 pieces or 2,000 pieces. I knew that anything over 50, I wouldn't be able to do. So that was narrowing a lot of it down. What are your minimum quantity orders? What is your lead time? Whether or not they're willing to work with a small brand. A lot of manufacturers do want to work with reputable brands that are going to send the orders in. So it's also finding someone that's going to want to work with you in the beginning. And me and my manufacturer pretty much landed on each other. We're the exact same age. We started our business at the exact same time. She needed a client, I needed a manufacturer, and we kind of took a chance on one another. And we have grown so much together. We've just opened exclusive Odd Muse factory that is only Odd Muse. And I always say my manufacturing story is very unique. And even this year we have tried to, one thing that they'll always say is like an e-commerce brand, when you're importing stock and when you're especially in fashion, there is an element of supplier risk. So really you should have a few suppliers under your belt, because if one supplier goes down one day or for whatever reason, you have other people that you can get your stock from. And in the process of finding another supplier this year, it has been one of the most horrible experiences of the last 4 years. So I think suppliers and having conversations is the most important step, and making sure who else they're manufacturing for and how confidential they are with your designs and what's upcoming for your business. It's very important in fashion, because if you do it right, there's going to be a lot of people coming for your designs and wanting to copy them and wanting to know what your next step is. So I think it is the one thing that you should be the most meticulous about. And going back to my first point, that simple vibe check with a supplier is very important. You need them to be your friend, and you need to work well with them, and you need to, know that they're going to be loyal to you. But unfortunately, there's no quick answer. It is figuring out where you want to manufacture in the world, Googling to the 100th page and having conversation after conversation and narrowing it down as to who you want to work with. There's no good supplier that's just going to land on your lap.
And how did you know the one that you chose was the right one? What was it?
Well, immediately I started sampling with a few. So the one that I went with was first and foremost the best quality in what I was seeing, in what I was sending over. It was also at the beginning, the way in which I would communicate what I wanted was very vague. Like now we've got our tech packs, we've got our measurements, we've got our fabric references. But at the beginning, I didn't know what I wanted. I wanted to create a blazer. I was trying to source this, I kept saying to her, I need a high quality fabric. I didn't know what I was asking for. And she really worked the best with me. And I think when you're starting out, you need a supplier that doesn't want the order and doesn't want, they want to help you. So I think just the patience she had with me, the quality that was coming through, and a big thing was the minimum quantity orders. I needed someone that was going to accept 50, and 50 is very low. And I don't think you can get that anywhere now. I think everywhere is 100 minimum quantity order on clothing now. So at that time, that was quite rare, and that was something for me to consider because, yeah, I didn't know what was going to sell. I needed the lowest quantity order I could find.
Yeah. Look, that's really, really helpful for people because I know people get so caught up, and they also get caught up with this idea that perhaps you need to raise money from outside, not be able to pull your own personal funds.
I think they also get caught up on needing the capital before they start. So that was one thing I was very much like, I need the money to start. I need all the money there and then I'll start. But then I can't remember who said it to me, but then I basically just started sampling before I even had the money for the brand. So I was paying $100 for a sample. I didn't have that money for the end order, but I kind of knew that I would, keep working and get there. So it kind of married up. Like when I said I had that capital ready, all of a sudden I also had all my samples ready. Like at that point I'd spent just under £1,000 creating samples and finalizing samples. So I think if you really want to take it seriously and you really want to do it, but you don't have the money just yet, you only have a small amount, I would still 100% start sampling, 100%. And things like sketching your ideas, supplier conversations, and all stuff like that, that should be done before you even have the money anyway. So whenever anyone asks me what's the best bit of advice, I always say, it's so boring. I always say just start, because I spent so much time just I haven't got the money, so there's no point in starting. When in actual fact, it wasn't till I actually had that realization that I can start sampling and I can start conversations, and I don't have the money, but that doesn't matter right now. That really changed the game for me, and I was learning a lot and I was, spending little bits of money. It isn't until the last point that you actually need that money, that the stock's finished, that you pay for it. So I always say to people, just start.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. And how long did it take you from starting to have conversations to go, yep, this is what I'm going to go after, to actually launch? You built your own website, I assume on Shopify, right?
Yeah. So I would say, I was sketching Odd Muse for years before, but I would say I started sampling in April and I launched in September. But the idea, the sketches, the name Odd Muse, the logo, all stuff like that was done years prior, because it was my passion project on the way to work. But yeah, sampling took me a good 6 months. And even now, from sort of concept to creation with the collection, it is around 8 months. 6 to 8 months.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Well, that's a great timeline for people to get a gauge. So you launched, you had one product that sold out pretty quickly, and you had an influencer, Lorna Luxe, who organically promoted your blazer, which was really helped. Talk us through how this collab came about and what lessons you learned from that experience.
So The way in which Lorna discovered the blazer was there was quite a lot of noise early on because PrettyLittleThing had ripped off the blazer, and at the time I only had like 500 followers. Um, and someone messaged me like, "You should put this on Twitter." Um, and I was like, "I'll try anything." Like, I'm just like, they've copied me. I've got 500 followers. Like, this is like, I quit my job. So I put it on Twitter, and it started to get really, really viral. Like, lots of retweets. People were replying, saying, "I bought this blazer." We got a few sales from it. And then a couple days later, Lorna Luxe had posted on her story that she'd just purchased this blazer. It's coming tomorrow. She's going to wear it in Paris. And immediately, I think we had about 80 units left on site, and they just sold out within 5 minutes. And I had loads of people asking me, "When are you restocking? When are you restocking?" And this was like a real pivotal moment in Odd Muse's history and in its lifespan. One of the reasons why we're still self-funded today. I ordered 700 units from my supplier. I didn't even know what a mailing list was at this point. I manually collected emails in an Instagram response box. I counted them. I said 2468 all the way down. I left it 24 hours, counted it all the way down, and I had around 800 people on there. So I ordered 700 blazers from my supplier. I did not have the money in my bank to pay for it. And I said to my boyfriend, "I need to sell these blazers now if I want to pay for this stock." And also, I know people's patience. I know if I don't sell it to them now, I'm never going to sell it to them. So I launched a pre-order for all 700 blazers. And that day, we grossed like £60,000, which was maybe like 3 weeks into Odd Muse or 4 weeks into Odd Muse. It was very, very soon. I remember just sitting on my stairs at home, like with my iPad, just looking at my mum and dad, like, I've just made £60,000. And it was just wild. And it really just scoped the brand. Like, we have continued to do pre-orders to this day. And it has really funded like the growth. Like this year we've scaled to £24 million in sales, and we've never taken outside investment because we just have this relationship with our customer where she just wants it. And we'll always launch with immediate stock. So we'll never put something on pre-order that we know our customer doesn't want and isn't sold out. It's always like she's missed out and she has to pre-order now. But yeah, pre-order is, I credit it so much. I would not have been able to scale without that original pre-order. I would never have got them blazers in. And each time we've just scaled it.
Yeah, look, I think it's a really great insight. Seems so simple, but it's just a really powerful way to also gauge market demand, right? Because
that is another reason why we do it as well. Like, I don't want to order lots of stock and be left with it. I'd rather just know, okay, everyone wanted it that time. We'll go a bit bigger on the second order. That is like one of our like pledges to just being a more sustainable brand. We're not left with waste. So yeah.
Yeah, and look, that's basically, how Kickstarter or Indiegogo works, right? Like, people put up a crazy product and it's usually some sort of crazy, wacky invention. And if people want it, they'll pay for it and they'll wait 3, 4, 5, even sometimes even a couple of years.
One thing that helped me, I think, that really like launched our pre-order was everyone was in lockdown anyway. So what does it matter if the blazer you're buying is going to come in 4 weeks? It kind of just like lined up like that. Everyone was at home. Everyone was on their phones. I was on my Instagram stories every single day. Like, I cannot believe this. I was sharing my story. I've quit my job. My blazer's gone viral. Everyone wanted to support it. It become what everyone was watching in lockdown. And a lot of people told me, why would you start a business in lockdown? But for me, I was just like, everyone's on their phone and I'm going to speak directly to them. I don't need anyone else to help me. I'm going to speak directly to these people and I'm going to, sell them not this blazer, I'm going to sell them this brand and why I'm doing this. And also it goes back to that piece. I was never trying to sell something that you was just going to wear for the weekend. It was always going to be something that was going to be so loved in your wardrobe and pulled out again and again. And that's still the reason why we sell that same blazer to this day, 4 years later. Nothing on our site dates. It's not a seasonality thing. We are a slow fashion brand and we are a seasonless brand. So yeah, I've kind of lost my train of thought a little bit. But yeah, that was how we sort of originally first spoke to our customers.
Yeah, and I think it's really clever. So talk me through the Copycats piece, right? So pretty little things, they copied you. Most people, that would really get to them, right? Because copying is a massive problem. So like, I started an e-commerce brand on the side with my girlfriend, and it, we really popularized the concept of like a time marked water bottle. Like, they said when you should drink, like we were one of the first to come out with it. The brand was called Healthish, absolutely took off, $1 million a year business, did really, really well. And now it's everywhere. So many copycats on Amazon. I see it in our local stores.
I think with products, it's so hard. Like, especially, I don't know what it's sort of like in Australia, but here, like with products, like everything gets copied for like TikTok shop and everything gets ripped off. But I think with clothing, and if you are a mid-luxury brand, the one thing fast fashion can never do is replicate quality, because they don't put spend into quality control. They don't put spend into good quality fabrics. They don't put spend into product development. So yes, PrettyLittleThing copied me, but my God, it was an awful version. And whenever people copy us, it's always an awful version because we do stand on quality. So yeah, that's with fashion, that is the one thing we always have. They're never going to touch our quality. And also what I'm learning as we, I don't let it bother me at all anymore. It's just it's expected now. Whenever we release a collection, fast fashion brands are going to release their version of. But it doesn't bother me because the quality factor, but also my customer no longer shops at PrettyLittleThing because that was our mission all them years ago. And we have so many customers that can vouch for us changing their spending habits and changing their shopping behaviors to a more slower side of fashion and to becoming someone that rewears their products. And when they're buying, they're thinking of how many times they can wear, cost per wear. So I don't see us competing with fast fashion at all. We're changing the behaviors of people that do shop fast fashion. We're part of that like lifespan. So yeah, I don't let it bother me too much. We kind of expect it. And we do a TikTok every now and again when it happens, and we have fun with it, to be totally honest. And I think that's what you do. Obviously, me 4 years ago with 500 followers, it was very frustrating, but I still see it as an opportunity to let people know where the original blazer is from. So yeah, I don't let it bother me too much.
Yeah. And because you had such fast, incredible growth, so you effectively did, close to $100,000 in sales in your first month in business. That's a pretty incredible feat. What were some of the biggest challenges in scaling so quickly? And then obviously things really took off from there.
So I think at the very beginning, we've had so many that the last 4 years have been insane and they've had their own challenges. But when I think back to when it was like just me starting the brand, the main challenges was facilitating the growth. So having the customer service behind it, having the ability to get the orders out, get the returns in and offer a good service. I think that has really taken us a long time to perfect. And we've perfected it this year and we've seen how much more we can scale. So I think just the stress of that, and also I've always put my face all over the brand. I am the face of the brand. So when the customer service isn't there, the first person they're blaming and coming to is me, or coming for, should I say. So I think, putting myself at the face of the brand at the time where the brand wasn't equipped to get orders out quick enough and offer emails with a good response time. Now our email response time is like 4 hours worldwide. Before, it would take me sometimes we would have automatic responses basically giving us like 5 days to get back to your email, which is not acceptable. So that was the challenge. The challenge of being a 22-year-old girl that did not know that this business was going to go like that has been quite a common theme for the last 4 years. But yeah, I'd say the main part when we was first scaling was just being able to offer, having the sales of a big business, but not being able to offer the service.
Hey guys, I really hope you're feeling inspired from today's interview. Now, the truth is, all successful e-commerce founders started from zero, with a spark of an idea and a whole lot of determination. But let's be real, building or growing an e-commerce business is no walk in the park. And that's where Foundr Plus comes in, which I'm really excited to share with you. It's a culmination of a decade worth of work at Foundr. So if you're feeling stuck in your e-commerce business, you're lacking confidence to move forward, or you're worried about making costly mistakes or not knowing how to grow your business, Foundr Plus is here to support you on your journey. You get access to a customized learning pathway with proven frameworks from successful e-commerce founders for fast results, incredible programs, a supportive community, weekly live mentorship, exclusive savings on startup tools, and 24/7 real human support. Try Foundr Plus today for just $1 for 7 days so you can accelerate your business goals. Visit foundr.com/start $trial or click the link in the description to claim your trial. All right, now let's jump back in the show. Yeah. And what about your designs? Like you keep putting out new timeless pieces. Can you walk us through that creative process and how you keep up with, because you have to keep, we don't have to, but new is good, right? And when you've got a growing, hot, sexy brand, there's a lot of talk around it. You want to keep kind of building that momentum. So talk us through that process.
I think one of the moments really that changed the game for Odd Muse was when we introduced more regular launches. And that doesn't necessarily need to be like a big collection every single month. Some months it's just like one style. Obviously, fast fashion new in pages are like thousands of options new each week. We needed to find that sweet spot, mainly from a point of having a bit more conversation on social. So we introduced sort of more products, but still in the grand scheme of things, it's still like only 50 products a year, but it's kind of like staggering them. So the creative process behind that really just goes back to our customer. So we don't necessarily look at trend reports. With Odd Muse, we're very much inspired by Odd Muse, and that has created a really strong brand identity. So when you look at all our products lined up, you can tell it's Odd Muse. And whenever you see a dress out in public, like when we were shooting in New York recently, we were shooting a new collection, and a girl come up to me like, "Oh my God, your dress is Odd Muse." It was not a release dress. No one had ever seen it before. But the product we design has such a strong identity to Odd Muse. So we keep it very aligned with what we're doing and what our customer loves, not necessarily who's been seen wearing what's gone down the runway, what's trending for spring summer 25. And I think that's made us sort of that strong brand that we are today.
Yeah. And one thing that you keep going back to is the customer. And you've built this amazing brand, incredible product, and you've grown so fast. I think there's an unfair advantage. You used to work at ASOS as a buyer. That's one of your unfair advantages. But you also have built this incredible brand of trust and loyalty and, putting, as you even referred to as her, putting her first. Talk me through that. Like, it's your first business. How did you work that out? Because I think that's something that sometimes people often mistake, and it takes a long time to understand.
I think for me, I went into Odd Muse with no real knowledge in marketing. I didn't really have that much knowledge in buying. It was my first job, like coming out of university. I was there for just over a year. Um, and I feel like I started the brand with my customers. I feel like we was all in lockdown, and I'm so grateful to them. And everything we do is for her, and we always speak about her in the office. Um, and yeah, I think that is just like me injecting my personality into the brand, because I am just so grateful for everyone who has enjoyed Odd Muse at any level for the last 4 years, whether you've not bought anything and you have just enjoyed watching our content and you've engaged with our TikToks. And I think that really shows in what we do. I think people feel that energy from us. We're not a salesy brand. We just want to have fun with whoever loves the brand. And I think people really, really engage with that. It's, nothing we do is salesy. I always speak about how I didn't get into this to have a growing business. And I think that translates well to our customer. And I think that's built a really amazing community. And obviously I'm all over the content. It's a very founder-led brand. So people have like a story to support. And I know for a fact, like I remember brands I was aspiring to be like. I didn't know at the time, I didn't know anything about who was running this brand. And now whenever I'm shopping, I always want to know who owns this brand, who am I supporting? So I think it just become a bit of a movement, and this brand is for our customers. We now do bridal, we do graduation. We want to be part of her every day, like whether that's her special day, whether that's just her new job. Um, so yeah, our customer is really special to us, and I feel like you can feel that from every angle of the content we share.
Yeah, and I think that's some of the magic, right? That's why this brand is growing.
100%.
Like,
No one
yeah.
likes to be sold. No one likes to be sold, and that is the key marketing thing that I would say. Don't sell. If you want to sell, don't sell, because no one wants to be told. Our marketing strategy is, we do all these things. It has got an intention to drive people to the website, of course, but I do not ever want anything on social media that says shop now or any call to action like that. I just want you to enjoy Odd Muse's social media like it's my own social media. And in turn, that drives a lot of traffic to site. In turn, that means our paid social ads perform quite well. It has a greater good. We don't put pressure on sales. So yeah, my best advice to selling would be don't sell.
Yeah. I when you said that, what comes back to me was I once heard someone say, people don't like to be sold to, but they love to buy.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah, and I think you've really kind of nailed that. So talk to me about influencer marketing. So beyond, you guys don't sell, but you have a lot of creators that you work with. How do you approach influencer partnerships? What would you suggest for smaller brands
So
considering this?
our influencer pool is very, very unique, the way in which we've always worked with influencers. So when I started the brand, like Lorna taught me this very, very quickly. So Lorna so organically bought that blazer and posted about it, and that is why we saw such amazing sales from it. So from the get-go, I told myself, I am going to continue creating amazing product that influencers want to buy, and if they don't want to buy it, they will accept gifting. And I just know how much the word ad diminishes credibility. I always, from maybe like an integrity point of view, it was my product, it was my baby. I wanted to know people loved it, and they wasn't ever going to be paid to say that. So originally, really up until this year, all our influencer partnerships have either been gifted or they've bought it themselves. And people would always ask me, how do you get such good influencers? And I would always say, product. Product is the most important thing. I don't want, they genuinely want to. And people, whenever we'd send to people, we would never ever put pressure on them wearing it. We always wanted them to just wear it whenever they wanted to, not just upload a photo of the bag or upload a photo in the mirror because we've pressured them to do that. So for the first 3 years of Odd Muse, we was working with influencers on a completely organic basis. Now this year we have introduced a commission platform, which I think all brands should do. I think it's fair for the influencers, but I think it also protects the brand. So a lot of influencer partnerships in the UK, when it is a branded ad, you may have to spend quite a lot of money up front on that ad. You don't know what you're going to get out of it. And you also have the word ad that is going to diminish whether people want to convert. Whereas platforms like to Know It, we've got another platform called Shop My, they will pay the influencer based on what they sell. So if an influencer links our product, she's worn our dress, she links it and she sells 10 dresses, she will get paid for them 10 dresses. And I think that has been amazing. That has introduced so much extra incremental revenue into Odd Muse this year. So we generate a lot of sales through like platforms like to Know It and Shop My. But what I love about it most is I can advise any brand on any level to get on a platform like that because you're only spending if it's sold. And it's, it's the same as meta ads and paid social ads. That has been a real development in influencer marketing that, we've welcomed with open arms because I think that's coming as a very fair bridge to the gap between, okay, I can pay this influencer, but how do I know what I'm going to get? Because so many layers of marketing are immeasurable. And I'm a data girl. I think people love data. If you're growing a brand, you need data. So commission platforms for influencer marketing is the go-to, and always creating a good product that they want to wear, of course.
Yeah. And so you're still sending the product out for free, right?
In some cases, yeah. If not, so Shop My, we're really going for the US at the moment. So Shop My is a platform where a lot of US influencers can come on once they're approved, they can make their selects on Odd Muse and it will get sent to them. So it is mainly on a gifted basis, yeah.
Yeah, got you. And because one of the things for smaller brands or early stage brands wanting to get into influencer marketing, I often hear, and I'm sure you do, well, I tried it, it didn't work, or, I've sent them something and they don't post. And I think there's one thing that people don't talk about is the content. Forget the value exchange of just trying to make money or trying to, sell more product, but the content is really a big part of that exchange, right? It's hard to create content.
Yeah, we have a bit of an influencer pyramid of 3 pointers as to why we would want to work with an influencer. One of them, 100%, is that she's a macro influencer that everyone in the office loves and we just want her and we just really want her in Odd Muse. The second part of it is there's a big pool of micro influencers that sit under 40,000 followers that create the best content that we work with on a regular basis because of the content they create and how good they make the product look. Sometimes it doesn't always have to be like this person has 300,000 followers, we're just going to send to them. We always base it on, is this person fit for the brand and is their content good? So that is a huge factor for us. And I've always done that from the very beginning. I've always wanted to work with micro influencers because you are going to get a lot more content out of them. And I think it's just sort of nice that piece of just a growing brand and a growing influencer working together, that there's something quite nice around that. So yeah, we often work with micro influencers, probably more so.
Yeah, and I think another thing is as well is people look at it I don't, especially in the early days, I don't think you should ever consider paying influencers. I'm a big fan of gifting product and making that part of your budget. So don't spend money on paid ads, right? Don't try and get that going. Build an organic presence, build a small grassroots community and gift product and take that away from your marketing budget. So you're effectively looking at the cost of your product.
Our biggest, the thing that drives the most sessions to site every single day is Odd Muse's social media organically, still to this day.
Yeah. There you go. Right.
So I think that is what you said. It's the most important thing. And it's the reason why when we do a pop-up shop, we have queues outside. And it's the reason why we have such strong love around the brand, because we've never relied on an influencer. We've never relied on paid ads. It's always been like them two things. If they bring revenue in, it's a bonus and it's amazing. And we have amazing people in the office that take care of that. But the main strategy always is the organic connection between us and the customer.
Yeah. And so just on that, what advice would you give to earlier brands, smaller brands, people that are moving into this space, starting an e-com brand that want to start driving traffic to their store, don't want to spend money on ads? How do you build a strong organic presence? Because you did that pretty quickly off the gate. What advice would you give? What experiences can you share?
I always said from the very beginning that I was going to try and be as appealing to a customer and to an influencer as well. I always said that I wasn't going to chase influencers. I was always going to create a brand that influencers would chase. And I think that's what had me so laser focused on the brand. I wasn't looking on Instagram for who was going to grow the brand and who was going to wear Odd Muse. I was so laser focused on that Instagram feed. And I still to this day think Instagram is where you build the most community. I think TikTok can be super loud and it's got such this virality piece, but it hasn't got that loyalty piece that Instagram has. So I would say Instagram is like my, favorite place to communicate to our customers. TikTok is where we have just like a bit of fun and it builds the community, and a lot of people then go on to follow us on Instagram. But I think it seriously is in having a good product and having a good story. Communicating that story in, the least polished way possible. So a lot of what my Foundr content at the moment is just me sitting here. It's just the 5 minutes I have in the day. It's not too polished. It is just a real honest conversation every single day that I'm having with our customer. And I would say also one big thing is never post to go viral. Never post because it's a trend or because you think this is going to go viral. Always post to talk to your customer. Always post to talk to them people, whether there's 100 people there or 1 million people there. Never ever worry about the virality of that video, because you're only going to create disappointment every time it doesn't go viral. So you might as well stick and build a community and speak to the same people every single time and hope to bring in more of them people every single time. And I think that's one thing you can see in my own content on my personal socials and also Odd Muse's content. We're never really looking for a new customer and jumping on trends anymore. We're always just speaking to our customer directly. And I think going viral now has become like a bit of an addiction and it becomes a bit lost. Whereas we kind of would prefer to perfect our style and talk to our current customer and our current follower.
Yeah. And one thing I've noticed as well is you are very intentional about that founder-led content and building your own personal brand. Like even on your company pages, it's like by Aimee Smale. Like, so I'm curious, when did you make that conscious decision that I'm also going to show Aimee and everything that's happening behind this brand and who is behind it, and really separating the two, but they are still one in the same?
I think, to be totally honest, when I was starting the brand and I was thinking about the brands that maybe my customer was shopping at already and who I was kind of going up against, I asked myself, what do I have that they don't? And when you're putting yourself up to brands that have been running for a long time, you know, you're with that question for a long time. Like, how am I competitive? What is different about my brand? And I kind of landed on me. I'm different. My story. No one's got me, Aimee Smale, in their brand. And then I looked deeper and I was sort of like, well, none of them even, you know, have their founder face fronting. So for me, it was kind of like a marketing advantage. I always say to people, you are your biggest advantage. No one is you. No one can, even when I do my TikToks now, I talk about my day because no one's to point blank had the day I've had. So it was more so as a 22-year-old thinking I had a competitive edge, putting myself out there. And also it was kind of all I had. I'd spent all my money on my stock. All I had was to very candidly tell people my story in the hope that they would find it interesting. And when I was looking at those other brands, all I wanted was someone to tell me how they found their supplier and how they launched their brand and silly little things. So I kind of wanted to be that person that I didn't have when I was starting the brand. And that's how I kind of fell into Foundr content. And even as silly as when we was doing our first shoot, I didn't have any money to pay the models. So my friend took the pictures of me. So it was all very sort of, part of it was intentional, but part of it was down to budget. And to this day, I just really enjoy it. Like if you was to ask me what I enjoy most about my job, it is, you know, being that face of brand to the community.
Yeah. And I'm curious as well for people starting out, just coming back to the social piece and content and all of that stuff, how much time would you be spending like on content versus then you've got customer support, like you've got, and then you're working on the next drop or product? Like how do you work out how to allocate your time in the early days?
I think at the beginning, I remember I used to do one content day a month. So I used to do one shoot a month of the product. But pretty much every day I was finding 5 to 10 minutes in my everyday to just candidly tell Instagram stories and TikTok what I was doing and what I was working on. And I think that's the beauty of where we are now. TikToks like that reach a lot of people. 10 years ago, there was no way you could upload a video of you just sitting there in your working clothes and just talking, and it could reach, you know, if it goes viral, it can have the same reach as like a huge ad and like a huge celebrity endorsement. If a video, like TikTok has given you that ability to do that, and social media too. So I think now's the best time. Like, when would that have ever been a thing? So yeah, I would always find 5 to 10 minutes of my day to really candidly speak to people. And yeah, would do that one content day a month for actual product. Because I think you do need to have, in order to, you know, really make a product desirable, yeah, you do need to have that refined content. But to make a brand desirable, you do need to have that candid content, founder talking, but you do need that desirable product content. So I would always have them too. But yeah, I would do a day a month and just 5 to 10 minutes in my day for all the candid stuff.
Yep, that's awesome. That's really helpful because I think for early founders, early stage brands, it's quite overwhelming. And for some people, it's just like, oh, I don't want to create content, can't be bothered. I don't naturally lean into it. Perhaps, you know, it's hard. It's for somebody, it's not easy.
Sometimes it is literally just going on TikTok and saying, I don't know, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't want to be in this content. I never set out to do this. Here are my intentions. I'm just trying to grow a brand here. I have so many moments like that on TikTok where I'm like, guys, I don't know what I'm doing today. I don't know why I am the founder of this big business. I don't know what I'm doing. Sometimes it's that content that works the most. So yeah, don't be afraid of things you don't want to try and things you're scared of, because people find that even more relatable.
Yeah, you strike me someone that is quite fearless, Aimee. Have you always been that way?
I wouldn't say I'm fearless, but I would say I'm quite impulsive. And I'm just a dreamer. Like, I really just thought Odd Muse would work, and I really had it in my head, and it would just keep me up at night, like how good this idea was. Um, so yeah, I wouldn't say fearless because there's definitely this side that I'm showing a little bit more this year where I panic and I'm scared. But I think the difference in that is I don't let the fear stop me. I'm scared, but I do it anyway.
What are you scared of? Like, what are you sharing that you're scared of, or that you're afraid
I
of?
mean, loads of different things. So as of recent, when you're self-funded and New York pop-up, a crazy investment. When I was going through it with production, I was asked, do you need a couple days? Like, do you need to hear back from investors? And I was just like, no, it's just me. Like, it's just me that approved. Um, so I think whenever you're taking big steps to grow your brand, a lot of stuff like that, it is scary. And I sit at night and I think, "Huh, what if this doesn't work out? It's not, it's all self-funded. It's literally my own money. What is going to happen?" Um, but we do it anyway. And we've done it anyway. The 700 blazers I ordered that I didn't know that was going to sell, but I definitely couldn't pay my suppliers for. I had a couple sleepless nights where I thought, what if no one buys these? And what if I had to pay all that money? I have so many moments like that, but we do it anyway.
Yeah, I love that. You talked about international expansion. Like, would you be open to sharing? Like, what does it cost to like set up a New York pop up? Like you said, it was a lot of money. Like, what's a lot of money?
I mean, our New York pop-up was around a £300,000 investment.
Yeah, wow. Just for the pop up.
$300,000. Well, we're there for 3 months. And with the New York pop-up, I really wanted to showcase who the brand is now, because we opened a tiny store in London last year. We've signed a 5-year lease. It's tiny. In an ideal world, it would be a lot bigger. We've grown so much since then. So when we went to New York, I was kind of like, we need to go big. We need to show ourselves that we are this luxury brand, a mid-luxury brand that can compete with key players. So we went quite hard with the New York pop-up. But also, one thing I would say is we needed help from a production company. None of us was based in New York. We had to lean into a lot more labor than we would have in London. But I mean, it's been open for 13 days, and we hit $200,000 in sales today.
Yeah, wow. Already.
Yes. Opening weekend was just shy of $100,000. But even that, just we never expect, we wanted it to be this big marketing piece because, I mean, if you look at the content from that week of opening, I was doing tours every single day. We've done this today, progress over here. The intention was to have this big moment in New York and break New York, but take all our followers with us. We've nearly got 1 million followers on Instagram, and it has grown the brand overall. And I saw that even when we opened our London store. Whatever we're doing in real life, it has a domino effect on the website. So I knew New York would globally grow the brand, and our orders have upped every single day, the amount of people coming on site every single day, because what we did in New York was amazing and our customer wants to see that, and it continues that conversation on social media. But the fact it's been so, going so well in store is just amazing, and is a testament to how much people love Odd Muse. We had queues round the block for Odd Muse in New York, which was just wild to me.
Yeah, that's amazing. And we have to work towards wrapping up, but I'm curious, why did you decide to set up retail stores and not just stick to direct to consumer? You're self-funded, you've got a great brand, great community.
For our community, I keep calling her she, but she has grown our brand so much. Why would we not put spend into her being able to experience the brand in real life? Every time we've done a pop-up or open a store, we have queues of people who are so excited. And that's really why we do it. And that's really why we push it to the next level each time, because of our customer.
Love it. And last question. We have to work towards wrapping up. And it's late for you, so thank you.
Years ago.
So what's next for Odd Muse? Any upcoming products, partnerships, exciting projects that you want to share?
I think next year for Odd Muse, we are really trying to become more of a lifestyle brand. So we're very confident that she gets every dress for any occasion from Odd Muse, but we want her in Odd Muse every single day. We want her to smell Odd Muse. We want her to wear Odd Muse to work. We want her to wear Odd Muse to bed. We've done pajamas this year. So we really want to just be in every area of our customers' life. So that's a big thing for us next year. Like product and our categories are a big thing next year. And also just building on that international expansion piece. We get orders from all over the world. We have amazing sales in Australia, and we have amazing sales in the US. So keeping that New York store, hopefully, and, seeing where else in the world we can pop up.
Yeah, love it. Well, look, Aimee, thank you so much for taking the time. This has been an incredible interview. You've shared so much, been so open, so candid, and this is going to help a lot of founders in our community. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Hey guys, if you love this episode, you've got to check out my interview with Davey Fogarty on how he finds trends in undercapitalized markets and turns them into multi-million-dollar businesses.
I'm generally looking for trends globally. We find trends that haven't been kind of capitalized in certain markets or in certain marketing channels.
Yes.
And then we also obviously add our flair to it. You need to differentiate your product